You and I can share this. You want to,
Wayne and I are fine.
you want to take?
Take some. Realize I don't have one.
Make sure we
Can
share
move
this.
that down. Oh, you, there you go.
Good.
Okay.
Go ahead and
Well,
hit it with.
Oh.
Right. All right. Welcome everybody to full house tonight. There we go. Welcome everybody to the March 23rd, 2026 Plan Commission meeting. Call the meeting to order. Adam, would you take a roll, please?
Mr. Hall. Here. Ms. Means Davis.
Present.
Ms. Tinsley Price.
Here.
Mr. Schuler.
Here.
Ms. Hall.
Here.
Mr. Nolly.
Here.
Mr. Garrett.
Here.
Mr. Lux.
Here.
Mr. Comstock.
Here. Thank you. Want to welcome Katrina Hall. She's new as our extraterritorial representative from the county. And you all sworn in now? You good to go? You're here. Okay, welcome, welcome. And Mike is still our other representative, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. All right, I will entertain a motion for approval of the February 23rd, 2026.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from February 20.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up, we have under new business PC 2026-02 rezone request. Adam, you want to read the petition and then the petitioner can approach the microphone and prepare for his presentation.
The first item under new business this evening is PC 2026-02, Aaron Callis, rezone. The petitioner's name, owner's name, and owner's representative is Mr. Aaron Callis. Again, the address is 2205 North Michigan Road. Current zoning classification is R1 Single Family Residential. Future land use in the comprehensive plan is high-tech light industrial. And the action requested this evening is a formal recommendation on the zoning classification for approximately 4.91 acres from R1 Single Family Residential to IG General Industrial.
If you would state your name and.
My name
Go
is
ahead.
Aaron Callis. I'm the property owner at 2205 North Michigan Road. The property I bought, it was in really bad condition, overgrown. It's been severely neglected throughout the years. I plan on using it for partly my business, a small construction business, and then maybe rent out other spaces for other small contractors or just small business that hadn't taken the step to become bigger yet. And it's just a stepping stone and then the one building would be mainly for storing whatever somebody's got, the bigger items, maybe like a boat or a camper, or basically a small pole barn that somebody couldn't build at their house and they can rent the space out and store stuff there inside. So the back corner of the picture there will be like outside, a little bit outside parking for equipment, or that's back in the back corner there. So it'll all be hidden. And then there'll be a fence around the back corner there. You know, whatever stuff's back there to be hidden. To the north of the property, basically stay all the same. I mean, it's all woods and there's a creek and nothing's gonna be really touched over there, so. And then majority of the tree line that's around the property in between the farm ground, majority of those trees are gonna stay there. A few of them will come out, they're dying. But all the farm ground around there is zoned industrial, so that's the thing. And in my eyes, in my opinion, is the best use of the property, just because I hate to build a house there and then, you know, but the house that's there now, like I said, it's bad shape. So, foundation problems and that kind of stuff. So yep. And But yeah, just basically just two pole barns, basically is what. And
Okay.
the one will have little small offices, but single office in each unit, basically. So there's not gonna be room for like secretaries and, you know, but yeah,
Anything else you want to add?
I'm good right now.
Okay. If you'll stay up there and then we're going to take questions from
Okay.
the board and then we'll probably just have you, well, you can answer them as we go through.
Yep.
So, Mr. Hall, you have questions?
It's just a small clarifying question. When did you purchase the property?
About a year and a half ago.
Okay.
2024.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
No question.
Aaron, do you have any current potential customers for
No,
what you're planning?
I haven't advertised it because I don't know if I'm getting it or not. So
Yeah.
I don't want to get the cart before the horse, so.
Good call. I didn't know.
No, I mean,
you
like I
know.
said, I'm just, basically, if you drive over in Franklin, on the outskirts of Franklin, they're basically doing the same thing. Somebody has built up small little pole barns or, small little warehouses and small companies are using that for, like one was like a insect pest guy was over there and there's another one that's, I think he wraps cars, vinyl wrap
Mhm.
cars. So those small individual businesses.
Sure. Okay,
So-
that's all I've got right now.
Okay.
Trina?
The only question I would have is that when you talked about storing campers or, I mean, there's a lot of that
Oh, yeah.
around. So would they be on your site plan, be back behind the buildings
but-
in that gravel area?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So they wouldn't be visible from the road?
Basically, no,
or-
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the greenery on the north side will basically stay green, be grass. I mean, I don't have any need in developing that, so.
Okay, that's it.
Mr. Garrett?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. First off, what's the square footage of these intended warehouses going to be?
Basically about 7,000 square foot each, so. Roughly, I mean, that's rough numbers.
Okay. And then of that, 7,000, square foot each, how much of that do you plan on renting out?
Probably about 70% of it.
And then, you brought up the existing house that's on the property. Do you plan on keeping that or tearing that down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually it's coming down.
Okay. That's all I had right now. Thank you.
Mr. Lux?
Adam, site plan would still come back to us?
It would, yeah.
Okay, all right. Then no questions, but a comment. Thank you for improving the property.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's taking some time. I'm slowly chipping away at it, so,
It's appreciated.
yep, thanks.
Mr. Comstock?
Hi, city engineer. I know we're just here for the rezone, but I just want to ask, have you reached out to any engineers yet?
No, I
plans?
got a survey and crew coming. The rain has pushed them off and I've been told that they're gonna be there the last 3 weeks. So,
Okay. There will be significant additions that we'll probably have to put on here. Adding that much impervious, we will require some detention on the site.
That's the one lower part there, the north side.
Okay, is that?
That's
okay.
what that.
You mentioned it would stay green.
Yeah,
I wasn't
so
sure,
this-
so.
That's where the
Okay.
detention will be on that north
Okay.
side. So, yeah.
So, that's gonna be very important because that ditch back behind there, the Bassett,
Yeah.
or the debris ditch, that is, it floods quite often. So we want to make sure
Yeah,
that we have
yeah.
enough detention, as well as just kind of everything in there when it comes to making sure we have the turning radius for, I'm anticipating probably semis, or.
Maybe a semi here and there. I'm not gonna say there's not gonna be like a heavier duty trucks.
Right, whatever your largest vehicle is, we want to make sure that it can turn in
Yeah.
there. We need to make sure that the entrance is engineered properly. Same thing with all utilities.
Mhm.
Be aware that there's a 24-inch sanitary sewer that runs on your property.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a easement that has to go along with it. Within that easement, we don't want anything in there, including any landscaping and such. So just want to kind of make you aware of, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that we need to get into. I know we're early, but
Yeah,
just want you to know.
I've tied the house onto the sewer, so yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have septic out there. It's sewer. So,
And then I would say the last question is just kind of a general question. Given that you're right across from a neighborhood, do you anticipate kind of setting hours so that you don't have incoming traffic?
mainly, 8 to 5 or, normal business hours normally. I'm not gonna say there's not gonna be, here and there, but the majority of the time is gonna be just regular business hours.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's all I had.
I've just got a couple of things. So you've mentioned in one of the other questions, renting about 70% of it. So that means you were going to be in one of the buildings yourself,
Well, part of it.
part of it. So that can be subdivided in the back.
Yeah.
Is what you're
there's
doing.
gonna be like, basically like 8 units.
Okay.
That's
All right.
basically what it boils down to.
Okay.
4 in each building.
All right. And with that being that, so it's almost like incubator places that a lot of businesses would have get started. If you get big enough,
Exactly.
you move on, but
Yeah,
this
they're gonna
gets-
outgrow
gotcha.
space and then they're moving
Yeah.
on to,
Okay.
yeah.
And again, kind of what we don't anticipate, if they're small like that, these people aren't gonna be storing a lot of, what am I gonna say, material supplies. That's not really what this is for.
No, I mean, I'm not gonna allow like chemicals and anything crazy like that.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, no inventory be hanging around there and no outside storage other than the back with the renting out for
Yeah.
RVs and such. And,
Exactly.
okay.
I tried to make the one building big enough where if somebody had a big motor coach, they could back it in.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so.
I don't have any other questions, but before I open it up to the public, I do want to make sure everybody realizes we're just going to be making either some kind of a recommendation to the city council. They're the ones that actually decide they can listen to us, not listen to us.
Hey, Gary, sorry, I have one more thing that just.
Go ahead, Tyler.
I was looking at Street View. One thing, I'm just giving you this heads up because it's a very long lead time. You have what appears to be transmission lines on your property.
Yeah,
Those take a very long time to move. When you do your survey, get a vertical clearance on your lowest line,
mhm.
because if you're bringing in some
I-
taller loads,
Mhm.
that could be a long lead.
Well, I talked to a Duke engineer. I've already had Duke engineering out there. And they said that the power lines are not a problem and
Okay,
where the driveway is, this tall enough.
okay.
And then they've already explained to me where the transformers will go from Duke on the electrical side of it. Yeah, so yeah. He
Okay.
brought up the.
I'm glad you thought that because
Oh, yeah.
we're trying to get some transmission lines moved for a city project. It's 18 months,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I just didn't want to hold you
No,
up, get
it's-
ahead of it.
It should be tall enough where, I think we're at 15 foot, so.
Oh, no, that's good. I'm getting a lot of helpful advice.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like you've checked most of your boxes already. Anyway, just again for the public. So this is just for rezone. We're not here to, that we have no other business on this property other than that. We'll give the recommendation. And if it's favorable, it'll again go back to city council to look at it. But even if it does pass, I'll mention, that doesn't mean it's happening, just as he knows. He'll have to come back in the future for site development, have those approved. He'll go through what's called a technical review committee where everybody in the brotherhood has anything to do with building, that's utility companies, police, fire, everybody has a say-so on it to make sure it meets the criteria. So there's more to come on that. This isn't the final step. Just make sure, for those of you not aware of the process, give you a little heads up on that. With that being said, if the petitioner wants to step to the side, we're going to at this time open it up for questions from the public. And what we generally do here is anybody wants to come up to please address please come up to the podium, state your name for the record, and then we'll gather these questions and then have the petitioner come back up at the end and answer any that need to be answered. Mr. Landwarden.
Hello, my name's James B. Landwerlin. I'm a resident of Dwayne Village, as are several of the people sitting here. I received my notice of this Wednesday evening when I got home. I was out of town Thursday and Friday for meetings in Indianapolis. I was able to get with Eric Glasgow, an attorney, today, finally, very briefly. And he said that he could not make it tonight. So I would initially, and I realize you're coming up with a recommendation and that's all that this is, but your recommendation carries weight, and to that extent.
Just to be clear, he represents the homeowners of Dwayne Village?
He does not represent anyone yet.
Okay,
We
thank you.
don't know where we stand tonight and whatnot, so.
Okay, thank you.
But I spoke with him about representing us, and he said he couldn't be here tonight, so. Initially, again, I realize this is a recommendation period. that's what this meeting is about, recommending yes, no, otherwise. But it carries a lot of weight. With that in mind, I would respectfully ask for a brief continuance so that we could get with him and we would have time more than just a few days that I've had the notice. And this is a substantial change over the previous plans for the place. It was one building before, now it's two. There was no outside parking, now there is. So I would initially make that request that we have a little time so we can gather and determine the best way to go. And again, I would extend once again an offer as I did before when we were at the other meeting to meet with Mr. Callis. Maybe we can come up with some agreements. He said he had met with a couple of gentlemen here and that they said it didn't matter what we agreed on. So, so that's my initial request, is that we be given a little bit of time to organize, because this is going to carry weight. You know it does, obviously.
Anything else?
Well, if it's going to be continued, nothing else. If it's not going to be continued, I had some more.
Well, we won't decide that at this moment, because we want to hear from everybody first. So if you have some other things, go ahead with that, and then we'll
Sure.
bring that up to discussion later, Brad.
Sure. Well, the detention ponds, I'm glad somebody asked about those. That's obviously a concern. But it's simply not consistent with other properties in the area. I realize that it is, others are zoned light industrial and this and that, but they're cornfields around there. And a housing subdivision, which has been a housing subdivision for eons. It's always been. If it is granted, we would ask for certain reasonable restrictions be a part of the recommendation. Those would include type 2 or type 3 landscape buffers, preferably type 3. That'll help to block some of the view and hopefully block some of the light and so on that naturally is going to come along with this, with what's another requirement, I believe there should be. Heightened landscape buffer as well to cover. He's talking about parking larger vehicles there and so on. It does no good if you can't see the grill or bottom part of a grill of something, but you can see the rest of it sitting there. Fencing standards for security. Again, that's something that we've not had a chance to talk about what would look best, but we do believe that there should be enhanced, just as there are at a lot of other facilities, enhanced fencing securities that basically keep problem people out, which is my job to deal with. I'm accustomed to that. Outdoor parking. Originally there was going to be none. Now he's talking about putting some. And I would ask that the outdoor parking either be A, prohibited, or B, required to be behind the buildings. He built the buildings such that outside parking would be behind. So we'd only see the buildings, not see all the vehicles coming and going.
When you, let me touch on it real quick. Are you talking about like somebody comes in to go to their office? You don't want them to park? Is that what you're saying? Like in their parking spot in front of the office? Is that what you're referring to? I just want to be
No,
clear.
I'm talking about storage, outside parking storage.
Okay, okay. I just want to be clear on that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, of course, if somebody pulls in front and I don't think there is a business office here that I've seen, but if somebody pulls in to do business, no, of course, they have to be able to park long enough to do their business. I'm talking about storage parking. Night sky lighting should be a requirement, lighting that will limit it's the exposure to the houses. Right across the road from this, you have several houses, and several of those people are sitting here today. And some of them are hearing right now for the very first time, we're talking about this thing it needs to be lit up for security, but there's lighting you can use. And I'd ask that your recommendation include a requirement that he install and use night sky lighting that's going to keep that safe. The hours of operation was a concern. He said 8 to 5. I think that makes sense. Again, we object, but if it goes through, we'd ask that your recommendation include that limitation. He mentioned trucking operation. Not a fan of diesel vehicles sitting there running for hours or whatever, when waiting on somebody to get there to let them in to get whatever, so on. And certainly the people right along the road there would have to listen to a lot of that. So I would ask for a prohibition from diesel vehicles being left running, and I would ask for one to keep parking, to prevent parking semis on the property. There's just no way to pretty that up. There's just not. And I would ask that it be, he mentioned that he was not going to allow people to store chemicals. I would just ask that be a recommendation in your recommendation, that there's a restriction to no storing hazardous chemicals or other items. I'm in the fireworks business. Those are explosives. I just want to make sure that we're not storing certain things there that could be a problem. And I would ask that, I would prefer that the storage be all inside, which was his original plan when we were at the last meeting. But if there's going to be outside parking, I would definitely ask that it be covered by, again, proper, uh, proper landscaping buffer, fencing, and so on. So that's my part, and I think several others here from the addition agree. So.
Thank you, Brad. Anyone else wish to speak? Just out of curiosity, does it mean anything? Just raise your hand if you live in Duane Village. Just wanted to see. I mean, thank you. Thank you for coming out. I think I know most of you.
We also back up to Michigan. So several of us here.
Approach the bench with your name and what you have to say. Thank
My
you.
name is Maureen Amadova, and our home backs up to Michigan, so our, as well as several others here, will have a front row view to this change. Not objecting to it, but we bought our home for certain attributes, such as being able to go out on our deck or our patio and sit there and enjoy the night sky and the nice weather. The lighting comes in, there goes that view. So that's just something that should be considered on our behalf.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak? All right, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the Plan Commission. Do you have further questions or comments? Let the petitioner come back up. Mr. Callis, if you would. Or actually, before we do you want to, would you want to address anything that he mentioned firsthand? He mentioned, first of all, about a continuance, which would really be on us. Talked about meeting with you. Have you met with
Brad, last
have?
fall,
Okay,
and on the first one, on the variances.
okay,
but he hadn't reached out since then.
okay. You guys aren't opposed to meeting though, talking about?
I'm
Okay.
not opposed to anything.
All right. Do you have any other thoughts on the other things
I'm
that you?
just, he said, not enough notice. And I'm just following.
Oh, no, you're
recommendations of
fine.
Shelbyville.
Yeah, you did
So,
what you're supposed to do.
Yep,
So, yeah.
that's, I just,
That's something else we need to talk about internally with
yeah,
that, but yeah,
I mean, so that's why,
okay.
um,
Hall?
My question's actually for Adam. I don't know how deep into the weeds we should get when this is not a site development plan, but do you know what, just, he gave some numbers about the types of buffers. Do you know off the top of your head what the general industrial buffer would be when it backs up to residential?
So the ordinance has three buffer yard types, 1, 2, and 3, 1 being the least intense and 3 being the most. When general industrial or light industrial backs up against residential, it would be type 3.
Okay, so
So that's built into the ordinance.
Yes. Yeah.
so if there were to be a development on this site, if we were to zone it as general industrial, it would have to have our most intense buffer by default. That's just written into the ordinance itself. So the petitioner it would be required to have that highest intensity of buffer between that residential zoning and the general industrial zoning. So that would already happen. So I just wanted to make that, I guess, clear for the public that if we were to change the zoning and something were to be built there, that buffer would have to be built on top of the things that are already there. That was my only question.
and like I said, to the north there, the property is not gonna change, other than, build, lower lying area for water retention. So I mean, really, the, 150 feet of the north end of the property is not gonna be touched, like I said, other than water drainage. So there's not gonna be any lighting over there. And like I said, there's no reason to light that up anyway, so.
Okay.
Yeah, Gary, I had a question about lighting. Do you plan to intend on having much lighting?
I don't, I mean, maybe like security light, like motion center,
Yeah,
motion section. and-
General, just lights that are,
Yeah,
on the
I don't want
building.
stuff running all night long.
Okay.
No reason to light it up like that.
And just to note, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, we require 0-foot candles at property lines. So there need to be a
No need.
photometric plan. Yeah, that's a requirement.
Yeah, during the site development plan tech review process, they'll have to provide specifications on the exact lighting, because we also require 90-degree, can't think of it.
Downlight?
Yes, thank you. Downlighting, and also a photometric study to ensure that foot candles measurement is accurate at all of the property lines, especially residential.
Yeah, so we ultimately try to make sure that there's not a whole lot of bleedage into Dwayne Village.
Or the folks that back up to it as well. Thanks. Betsy, anything for you?
I don't. I think it helps to kind of hear about the north end, not really changing very much.
Yeah.
It's really the entrance into Dwayne Village and that bottom section that would really
Cause
be where you have to focus your lighting and all that stuff.
yeah, cause right now where the driveway is, not where the house driveway is, but where the other driveway is, that's basically where the driveway's gonna go. And it's only gonna be one entrance coming in off Michigan Road.
And you're like, I was just looking at this little map that they gave that has
Yeah.
like the one building closer to the trees, the other, so it would kind of hide your
Yeah, exactly.
parking here.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, like I said, the majority of tree line around the perimeter of the property is gonna stay. Like, there'll be a few of the dead trees coming out, cause, I mean, I've already had one fall on power lines last year, so, and knocked out Dwayne Village and everybody, so there'll be a few more trees coming out.
Anything else?
No, no more.
Sure. Dwayne, you have any further?
I don't.
Okay, Katrina? Yeah, any more for you? Mr. Lux?
You're not asking to be annexed into the city for this. This is, to my knowledge, is an extraterritorial jurisdiction situation.
That is
which
correct.
I think is.
Yep.
And because Dwayne Village is not in the city either.
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay, all right. No questions.
Nothing else? Okay. Just a couple other things that were brought up earlier. There was a question about diesel trucks sitting out there idling. Do you, and it doesn't sound like anybody's gonna be bringing material in from what you said earlier,
So, I
so.
mean, I'm not saying there won't be a delivery truck here and there. I mean, you know, I'm not saying there might not be a truck running in the back lot there. I mean, I can't.
Right,
I mean, but there's not gonna be like a diesel generator running
right.
24 hours.
And you don't see a tractor trailer sitting there
No,
running, because it's not really,
no,
there's 7 small units, you're not really storing anything, correct?
no, I mean, not like,
Your tenants couldn't really store anything,
I'm not saying there might not be like a small dump truck or something.
the occasional.
Yeah, or, you know, I don't know what business is until I advertise and see what's out there.
If somebody owned 2 semi trucks, would this be appropriate price for him to
Yeah,
have an
that
in-storage
would be an
truck?
entrance. If I
So
had
he
two
couldn't even,
entrances- I
if he had a
two
2-truck company,
entrances-
he couldn't use it, your place then?
No, not trying to rotate a semi around in there. I mean,
Okay.
you probably could, but it's not gonna be practical.
right.
If I had 2 entrances coming off the north and then I could run semis, but like I said, I'm only doing the one entrance and
And the question came about, I think he said inside storage, maybe not outside storage, but there won't be nothing outside, no hazards. We
Other-
can restrict that, other than the back. And
other than
that's
the back,
for-
and the front there is just, you know, somebody's there to,
and the building's going to obstruct part of that. And you said maybe a fence as
yeah,
well?
there's gonna be, it's basically just gonna look like a pole barn going, cause I was gonna put metal to cover up the back and there'll be a motion gate,
Okay.
so.
All right.
I can also speak to that, Mr.
Yeah.
Neely. Any outdoor storage in the zoning district would require screening as well.
Is there a requirement on the height of the screening?
Yeah, I want to say, just from memory, I think minimum 8-foot tall fence. But in the past, depending on exactly what's stored there, we have required that to be taller.
Okay. All right.
Just again, depending on exactly how this, the
And we
buildings
could-
serve some screening, but that fence will have to be there as well.
So based on intended use, if you say, hey, I know I've got 3 people going to store an RV back there and it's 13-foot tall, that could be coming in the site plan that we could say, okay, if that's your intention, we want a 13-foot tall fence or trees or something, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to, kind of for the public to know that
I mean,
that can evolve.
I don't wanna make it look like a compound either, you know? I'm
No,
trying-
no, I get it. I get
You
it.
want a big block, you know?
I got you.
It's all the way around.
Yeah.
I don't want it to look like,
No. I mean, this is fences in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the back. So, one last thing I'll just mention though, all the rest of the property is light industrial. So just so everybody's aware who lives out there, if somebody owns a piece of that property and they want to do this meeting doesn't happen. He still has to do a site plan and all that, just so for those of you out there, I know you live in a residential area and you buy it what it is, but you have to be aware of what's around you. This could, a year from now, 5 years from now, somebody could come and want to put something up that's you know, that would fit this description, and you wouldn't have the opportunity to appeal it again, you know, object to it at this kind of a hearing, but there would be other ones. So just so you're aware. Okay, well, I'm going to close the public comment, and I don't know if there's any interest in continuing it, or if somebody wants to make a motion for recommendation one way or the other. I'll entertain a motion, put it out there.
I would like to make a motion to forward a favorable recommendation for the rezone of 4.91 acres located at 2205 North Michigan Road from R1 residential, and assigning the zoning classification of IG general industrial pursuant to the planning staff's report and finding of facts.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Is it IG or IL?
I believe it's IG.
Sorry.
It says high-tech light industrial. What are the letters for that?
IG.
Okay. So
They
it
don't always make
was a
sense to me.
typo. Okay, just make sure.
So it is IG? Okay.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Second for Mr. Hall. You all cast your ballots at this time?
Sure. This was a motion for favorable recommendation on PC 2026-02. Motion by Mr. Garrett, second by Mr. Hall. Ms. Hall, yes. Mr. Nolly, yes. Mr. Garrett, yes. Mr. Comstock, yes. Mr. Lux, no. Mr. Hall, yes. Ms. Means Davis, yes. Ms. Tinsley Price, yes. Mr. Schuler, yes. Motion carries.
A favorable recommendation was passed 8-1. It will move forward to city council, and that is in 2 weeks from today. Is that correct? Will it make that one?
Their next meeting is April 6th. That is the
The
meeting.
blockbuster meeting?
Yeah, that's the meeting that'll be at the high school for the annexation rezone data center meeting. I don't know.
It'll be up to them if they want to move it.
Yeah, and I will reach out to the council president tomorrow and see if their intentions are to have other items on that agenda or just have that item.
And there's no further notice that goes to anybody for that. They just know it's going to be at one of the next meetings. They should just follow the
Yes,
city's website and keep up through that. Okay.
yes.
All right. So again, thank you all that came to speak for that petition. I encourage you or your representative, whoever that might be, to continue to work with Mr. Callis. He sounds like he's willing to be a good neighbor if possible, and hopefully it works out for everybody. So thank you all. And we will move on to our next item, which is PC 2603, Poet Biorefining Site Development Plan. Mr. Rude, would you like to
Yep.
read that?
Second item on the agenda under new business is PC 2026-03, Poet Biorefining Site Development Plan. The petitioner's name and owner's name is Poet Biorefining. The petitioner's representative this evening is Tanner Schwerer from Poet Biorefining. The address of the property is 2373 West 300 North, Shelbyville, Indiana. Zoning classification is general industrial, future land use. It's high-tech light industrial. The action requested this evening is site development plan approval for an expansion of the existing production building and the construction of multiple new support buildings. This includes increases in production capacity, grain storage bins, ethanol tanks, and an additional scale facility.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. Can we have a representative from? Oh, come on up, state your name and tell us about your project.
All right, good evening, everyone. Tanner Schweer. It's green, we're good, yep.
All right.
Tanner Schweer, project manager with Poet Design Construction, representing the construction project for the expansion. I think.
Can you hang on 1 second? Can we get the doors closed?
Understood.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Okay. I'll just start at the beginning. So Tanner Schwer, project manager for Poet Design Construction, representing the expansion project here at Poet Shelbyville. At a high level, the project is going to include increasing our processing capabilities, expanding our production from approximately 98 billion gallons a year to 193 million gallons a year, so 95 million gallon a year of ethanol production at Poet Shelbyville. In addition to that, we'll be doubling our receiving lanes for corn coming into the facility. In addition to that grain receiving expansion, that receiving equipment will actually be rated at a higher rate than existing. We'll also be adding a new inbound scale and probe that would service either of the inbound receiving lanes. That's really the project at a high level.
Thank you very much. Before I open up to commission, Adam, following this, if it's approved, next step for them is there anything else they come back for, just for the audience? Okay, so then they move forward.
Permits,
They've
yep.
already been through tech review and all of that, right?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yep.
All right, let's start at the other end. Tyler?
No questions at this time.
Mr. Lux?
No questions.
Mr. Garrett?
Yeah, you said you'd be doubling your inbound lanes. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll clarify. So currently on site, we have two receiving pits, so two trucks of corn coming in can unload at a time. We'd be doubling that to 4.
Okay.
The inbound lanes onto the property would be unchanged.
Okay.
Ms. Hall?
Well, this may not be you, but does the road need to be, with the doubling of your capacity, does the road need to be expanded?
So.
Pardon me? Yeah, yes. So maybe that's not your job, but it seems to me like, that might be part of the issue. The other question that I have is, with everything that you're doing on the site, do you have adequate setbacks for, I don't even know what they are. This is my first meeting. I'm just asking about that.
Sure. Yeah, we did review that tech review. I think we did
Through
have
that, all that, okay.
one item that was identified that had to be addressed with the boundaries, which we have since changed. Yep.
Yeah, I think the thing on the road would be if the city felt they needed to do something, it would come from there, correct?
Yeah, and I'll speak a little, and Tyler can stop me if I misspeak here. But when Poet was originally constructed in 2019, 2020, the city with Poet expanded, widened the road, and made a lot of utility and infrastructure improvements throughout that section. I would assume that satisfies.
Correct.
any-
Yeah, and that expansion goes westerly, I forget how far, and then also goes all the way to Tom Hessian. So that's kind of the main avenue, is to get to Tom Hessian.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Katrina? Mr. Schuler?
No questions at this time.
Ms. Tinsley Price? Means Davis?
No questions at this time.
I'm jealous. We don't have 2 names, just you 2. Mr. Hall?
It's not necessarily a question, but this came up in our pre-meeting and it came up in the last meeting with some concerns from the public. So I just wanted to ask this question, or clarifying question, really to Adam, on the record. But there was concerns about trucks turning, I believe, left,
Mhm.
and not taking Tom Hessian. And that there is currently signage that suggests that trucks should turn and use Tom Hessian. And that was something that the public kind of wanted to address. I just want to, I guess, make sure that I'm correct in that because of this current site plan using the same curb cuts and entrances, because that's not changing, we can't add any conditions to that.
Correct. But since those comments came up at BZA meeting earlier this month, we have been working, and Poet's been good to work with to try to come to a resolution. while they're out there doing some other work. So I think we maybe made comment in the staff report that while it's not necessarily part of the scope of tonight's decision, it is something that's being looked at.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that is something that POET is willing to work to try and fix, and come up with some sort of solution. It's just not something that we can impose as a condition, tonight, it's great that you're willing to do that. So it's very appreciated. But for us, that's not a condition that we can add for this site development plan. That was my only question.
Anything else? Okay, I do have, so you're doubling the lanes, but you're also doubling capacity. So unless I'm missing something, it's still going to be, the traffic's going to look the same coming in there, right? I mean, you double capacity, you double the lane. So, and here's where I'm getting at with, like, if you look at the picture that was presented here, you can tell the picture, you can tell from the shadows, this is a morning picture. You guys, what, 7 to 2 that you intake? Or do you know, because you're construction, do you know the intake hours?
Am I allowed to ask, phone a friend?
Oh, yeah, yeah, if they're here. If there's somebody else from POET that you want to bring up here, absolutely. Yeah, phone a friend. If your friend's wrong, though, what happens? You lose the million? Is that what happens? If you'd state your name and,
I'm Christine Poole. I'm the commanding manager at POET in Shelbyville.
okay,
Currently with the grain storage that we have, we max out on capacity around 1 o'clock each day.
okay.
This week, we will not even be open on Wednesday because we're already at max capacity. So we could realistically just be open till 4 or 5 with the additional grain storage and still fill.
That brings me a follow-up question to that. How does, if I'm a farmer and I'm leaving my place at 1 o'clock, how do I know you're not open?
We send out text messages.
So those are all on they're on a system with you, okay?
Yes.
I see a lot of nods. There's some farmers in here today, so
Yeah. And
I think I know what side they're on.
So regarding the traffic, when we do hear reports, the chief of police stopped in the other day and said that there were people going up and down Bassett Road. We sent out a text. We've talked to drivers not to use Bassett Road. I think when I stopped and talked to one of the officers that were out there on Bassett Road the next day, he said he only saw 1 truck at that time,
Okay.
and he did stop them.
Okay.
So we are pretty effective on our notifications that we send out. We also try to watch for people turning left at the edge of the property, and we'll take down who the carrier was and make sure that they're aware not to do that.
Okay. One other question I have related to that. So that being said, so if the truck, like you see on this picture that's here, they're at 300, or is that 3? Yeah, they're at 300 right now. If we had a bigger picture, we might see some sitting over waiting at Tom Hessian because there's no room on the road there. So that being, I've heard reports from people who go up and down that road that they're waiting over there because there's no traffic on that road right now. And then they'll it's kind of a waiting area, then they'll come in. That brings up, and sometimes they're on the road. I have family that live down, they say sometimes they're stacked outside, which is a bit of a problem. So will you get, I know there's double capacity and, or double processing lanes, but I see it's still the same stacking issue unless you're able to move them faster. Or, so part of this, you're going to be able to unload them faster to move them.
Faster with the additional 2 pits that we're putting in.
Okay.
And also we're redoing the traffic on site. So after they scale in on the 2 scales that we're going to have in the expansion, then we'll be able to send them around the plant and we'll be able to wrap them back there.
What would you say it takes a truck now to get through your process versus what it will take after? Is it same time, just more scales or more pits? Is that what you want to say? I mean, a truck still gets unloaded at a certain rate, right? It can only come out of the bin so fast.
Well, the conveyors work a little bit faster on the new system.
Yeah.
So currently we're at a 15-minute unload time from the time we scale them in until the time they scale out and leave.
Okay.
With the new capacity, what would you say that's going to be?
Would be slightly improved. So example, it might be a little easier to convey would be right now our receiving capabilities are 15,000 bushel an hour. So we're growing that on each pit to 20,000 bushel hours. So if you're physically sitting over that pit, the rate that that grain's getting taken away is improving by 5,000 bushel an hour.
Okay.
25%,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. So, margin, I'm just, my only concern is the stacking out on the main road. I mean, I think you guys have been a good business for Shelbyville. I know the farmers are happy to get a premium and have a place. They don't have to spend as much diesel and everything else delivered. So I know there's a lot of good for us. But that is one concern, having family on that same road. I am a little bit familiar with the time I travel on it. Any chance you could open up earlier before the traffic gets busy? The farmers will probably show up at 5 in the morning if they're up, right?
6:30, yeah, we could open earlier and that's always on the table.
Yeah, because school buses and stuff are out, they're out there like 6:30. So just to,
Let them wrap on the road. If I notice it, or if the girls up front
Okay.
notice it in the scale, they'll yell back at me and I'll go out there and I'll start bringing trucks in off and get them into other lanes.
okay, it's good to know you got an eye on it, so. That's all I have at this time. If you guys want to take a seat, we'll let anybody from the public. Oh,
Question. I'm
here, hold on.
So you're doubling your receiving capacity. And is all of that, are you doubling your ethanol capacity as well? I mean, how, is that all fit together so that you,
Yeah, yep.
I mean, you're not just doubling that and doubling your bin, your storage capacity, but you're doubling your, well, you're doubling your manufacturing capacity is what I really
Correct.
am curious about.
Yes, yep.
Okay.
You'll be shipping out twice as much ethanol as you are now.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there will be more truck traffic from that standpoint too.
A comment on that would be a lot of the expanded plants, new volume will actually be shipped by rail.
Oh, okay.
To customers, outside of the area. Almost all of the product today is shipped within, call it 120 miles.
By truck now.
By truck.
And you anticipate most of this being by rail.
The ethanol
The
volume-
excess.
The ethanol volume you will see will start to actually ship by rail, to more distant customers, well, accessing some new markets.
Okay. At this time, we will close our comments and open it to the public. If anybody wishes to speak to the petition, please step forward, state your name.
Michelle Webke, quick question. I had heard that there were water challenges at the existing facility. I don't know if this is true, but I was hoping maybe someone could speak to this. I don't know if maybe the use of porta pots for the farmers is intentional or not, or is there a specific reason, or is there water challenges in the current facility, and how do we expect to work with that in the new facility if there are indeed current water challenges there? And I do have a question about the previous one, and I can ask that later. It was just a clarification. If they're not, if that residence and property is not in the county, why is it in the city? Is it extraterrestrial?
Not extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
That one. Either way, that was the clarification.
If it's extraterrestrial, that's another governing body.
Sure.
It is not us.
Thank you.
As for Starfleet,
Thank you. That was it.
anybody else wish to speak? State your name, please.
Hi, my name is Chris Dennis. Just a quick question, in relation to the other project we're not to mention. And we're adding additional manufacturing capacity in town. How does the energy usage, our electrical grid able to support? I don't know if this increases the demand on that, but in conjunction with everything we're looking at in town, how does that fit in? So that was it.
We'll have them come up and talk about that. Sure.
I'm Todd Spiegel. I farm up in the northwest part of the county. As they stated earlier, there's days and hours that they close currently. So obviously having greater capacity would aid my business along with a lot of other farmers in the area. And not only is it a place for us to deliver grain, but obviously our businesses, we have a lot of machinery. We do a lot of business within businesses here in Shelbyville. So it would have more benefits than just us and just Poet. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I want to say, I think this has been a wonderful Gina Jackson.
Thank you.
Sure. I want to say this has been a wonderful compliment to the community. I'm very supportive of the agriculture advancements that it brings for our community. I do have one question about the night pollution. Would that night pollution be doubled if we're doubling the size of manufacturing and the capacity? Because currently it does light up the night sky pretty well. So if that could be answered.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Carson?
Kevin Carson from out Bogstown, farmer, delivered to poet. I think anytime that we can do anything to encourage agricultural benefits within Shelby County, it's great. Bungie was a great boon to Shelby County. I believe the poet plant's been a great boon to Shelby County. They've been pretty good. They've been good citizens in the county. I will go along with a lot of people. There's a lot of road issues in Shelby County. I think Shelbyville is trying to address some of that. If Tom Hessian Boulevard would go all the way to 44, it would have been
For just a second, Kevin.
What is that?
It's your electric personality,
Yeah.
magnetic personality.
I
You're the only one it happened to.
I agree that the city and the county needs to address a lot of infrastructure issues within roadways of Shelby County and if there are going to be other businesses that eventually locate out in that area, we need to address some of those issues. But I believe this is a great thing for Shelby County.
Thank you. Uh-oh. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Hey, my name's Diana Lemons, and my husband, my son, and myself, we farm, and we are feel very fortunate to have Poet here. And I myself drive a small semi, and I also haul in there as well. And it's been a great place to pull in and use. And somebody mentioned porta potties. Well, they're at Bungie also. I'll just tell you that. Sadly, we won't go into that. But we do really appreciate their business and their expansion. Might make their hours a little bit longer to help benefit, especially local farmers and all farmers together, especially during harvest time. And we really do appreciate what they do for our community, especially our ag community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Name's John Bush. I live about half miles of crow flies from Poet. I have hauled a lot of corn in there and it's been a great place. It's been really great for the community. I believe they were great neighbors. One thing I wanted to mention, since the left turn came up, I've made a lot of left turns coming out there because of where our bins are located. But now that Hessian Drive has been completed, over to my road to the north, it's much easier now to accomplish the no left turn and use that new Hessian Drive. So I think that's going to really help that situation.
Thank you. And thank you for admitting that you weren't paying attention to the sign. That's very big of you. Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Chris Everhart. Local farmer. We deliver corn to Poet. Doubling their capacity will help us to get a lot more accomplished per day. We really appreciate them and look forward to working with them in the future. And I would recommend you guys be in favor of this. It's good for the city of Shelbyville. It's good for the county. It's good for agriculture. There's just not hardly any downsides to this. I know there's some people live close to it, might be, but as a whole, I think it's a good thing for the county and the city. So thank you very much.
Anybody else? Okay. If I will close comments to the public and have the petitioner step back up and see if there's any, well, I'll let you address the three questions, whichever of you would want to do that. Some of this is construction, some of it was to do with water, power, and I wrote down the third one, light. So whoever wants to address those first, and then we'll see if there's any questions from our staff.
Hoping I can answer all those, or at least provide some clarity. So one, thank you everyone for your feedback and questions and support. First question around water. We have been working very closely with Indiana American Water. We're getting very close to finalizing our contractual agreements with them on expanded water supply. We do not have any current limitations on water availability for the current facility. We've been assured that there is water availability for the expanded facility. There will be some infrastructure improvements required, which will be contractual terms between Poet and Indiana American Water.
Okay. The other items, you're going to pull the power, additional power, but
Yes.
you've talked with, is it Duke or Rush Shelby out there for you guys?
It's a three-way really with Rush Shelby, Hoosier and Poet. Very similar story. We're very actively working with Rush Shelby and Hoosier to finalize our contractual agreements. There will be an infrastructure build out, additional substation, really doubling of the substation.
At the current location of the
At-
substation?
At the current location,
Okay.
correct. That sub was actually really designed to be doubled from the beginning, so that build out's fairly straightforward.
Okay.
And in anticipation of the potential future expansion of the facility, so.
And I will say, just for those who are asking those questions, those are things that those utilities, they know their capacity, and you couldn't move forward if you didn't already know that you had access to water and there was sufficient power. Obviously, it does take more that we have to look at as a community down the road, but at least for what you're doing, you're in good shape there. And then on the light pollution, if you will, is that anything you can address?
Yeah, I think so. We are actively working on the photo study. We don't have those results finalized. I will say, our lighting plan will mirror what is there currently. You know, we're adding 4 additional bins. We have 4 today. We'll have lighting on the bin tops, largely for worker safety for our team members, in the event that they need to access anything on those bin structures. And that would be very similar for any of the processing equipment that's taller, on site today will essentially be mirrored.
So speaking on lighting on the top, because there's a lot of light that comes off the top of that. And obviously being that high, even down light doesn't matter. We're looking up at it, right? I'm glad to know that it's there for safety, but is that something that could be turned on and off up there? Like if we're not going up there, but every so often, I don't know how often they have to go up there for work. Is that something that could limit the light pollution?
I'm not certain on that. There are some
But
lighting.
should be red flashing lights for that.
We do have some lighting requirements to follow for FAA as well to our
Right.
proximity.
Okay.
Those are mostly the beacons, but,
Because I think you have beacons on top now, right? Yeah. So it just, there will be some extra light. That would be something to be concerned
You're
about. But
essentially building back into
To the
an
south.
area surrounded by fields, right?
yes, yep.
okay. Any other questions from the board? Anybody on this end?
I got one, Gary.
Go right ahead.
It's good to hear from a lot of Shelbyville farmers, but I just have a question for Poe. How many farmers are you seeing from outside of the county centrally?
Oh, boy, I'm going to have to do it again.
That might be for her.
Yeah.
He just built stuff. She runs it.
Our current radius right now is about 30 to 40 miles, depending on prices. It also depends on the available supply. So if we're not paying very much, it means that we've got a tighter radius. So we're pulling corn from local farmers first. Especially happens during around harvest time. And then as supply starts dwindling, our bee gets a little bit bigger and our radius gets bigger. So we do draw from Decatur County, Rush County, Bartholomew, Johnson. So it does have a big area that we do currently expand to.
There are farmers that come here from Henry County too.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few.
Big.
Well, I'm glad we're supporting all central Indiana farmers.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions down here? Tyler?
I'll just say from like the infrastructure standpoint, along with the utilities, that is something that we look at early on projects, but also during tech review. We have Indian American Water that joins us, Duke Energy will join us from time to time, Rush Shelby, they'll show up every now and then as well. So that is something like every project has to go through that. They have to do all their modeling and everything before they can get all of their approvals. So not just Poet, but every project. And then as for infrastructure, the roadways, we talk about it often. Tom Hessian, how great would it be to get Tom Hessian completed all the way down to State Road 44? That way we have an avenue for south as well as going out west. So it's something we chat about very, very frequently. just like anything else, it takes funding. Having great projects and great businesses like Poet that contribute to those tax dollars helps us to get that money so that we can then continue that infrastructure built, whether it be water mains, sanitary mains, and the roadways. So we're trying to do the best we can. Unfortunately, with some of the state funding and such, it kind of limits us, but we're trying to do everything that we can. Thanks.
Okay. Nothing else? Betsy?
During council, when they first came to talk about this project, I think I remember 17 cents on the bushel or something like that. Like it's a really big bonus to our farmers. So like you hear them here and you see them, their smiles are like, yeah, we like it. And we like that for you too. So that's an encouraging thing.
Yeah. I will just say it's a much different meeting than we had 6 years ago. Turned out to be all right. Just proves that a lot of times rumors are just that, they're rumors. So, all right, we will close comment and I will now entertain a motion. Anyone?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Poet Biorefining Site Development Plan as presented to this body pursuant to the planning staff's report and finding of facts.
Who's it? Scarlett. All right, I have a motion, a second. Cast your votes and pass them in.
For PC 2026-03 Poet Biorefining Site Development Plan, it was a motion for approval by Mr. Garrett, a second by Ms. Tinsley Price. Mr. Hall, yes. Ms. Means Davis, yes. Ms. Tinsley Price, yes. Mr. Schuler, yes. Ms. Hall, yes. Mr. Nolly, yes. Mr. Comstock, yes. Mr. Lux, yes. And Mr. Garrett, yes.
So it has passed. Congratulations. And yes, when's your timeline for getting started? Didn't ask that earlier. Got a guess? Could be as early as next week. Okay. Means we're going to put some construction people to work, right? I hope they're all local. All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Moving forward, that's all of our new business. We had no old business discussion. We've got the annual meeting, but before we do, can I bring up something real quick? So we've heard this before. It came up with the prior group about the timeline that they're getting their notices. Seems like it's within just a few days. Refresh our memory on what the ordinance says, and let's talk about what we should do.
Yep, so the letter of the law says that any hearing before the Plan Commission or Board of Zoning Appeals, notice has to be published in the newspaper and mailed out to interested parties 10 days prior.
Mailed or received by 10 days?
Mailed.
Okay. Is that state statute or ordinance?
Yeah, that's state, and it has gotten, I mean, all of you that have been on this board more than a few years, post office has been slower.
Yeah.
So that 10 days means that a notice gets there with less and less time.
There's nothing preventing us from doing it earlier. 15 days, something. I know there's a timeline. You got a petitioner, you've got dates, you've got meetings. In all fairness to people, for some of these, 90% of the time, it's not a big deal. When it is, it is.
Yeah.
And it affects a lot of people.
I do not know. What I can do is reach out to our new legal counsel and ask for an opinion on if we can change that. Something else we've discussed in the past and what some other communities do, and I'll just throw this out here and we can have the discussion tonight or continue it, but we do not do like on-site posted signs. It's a common thing nowadays. If the neighbor doesn't get their piece of mail, until 2 or 3 days beforehand, at least they've driven by the sign for 2 weeks, and it raises some attention to it.
So we could have put a sign at Mr. Callis's property.
Yeah.
Maybe had a barcode, see the, follow. Okay.
Yeah, and that's something we've discussed in the past. We haven't implemented it. trying to think of the last time we did a big change to our rules. It's been probably 3 or 4 years to the notice requirement, but
I would ask we definitely look into that. We just, I know we're following the law, but the law's, I don't think sufficient with today's mail time and in all fairness to people,
yeah.
we should give them every opportunity
Mhm.
to have a chance to look at it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, think about it too, everybody on spring break last week, became last week, you didn't see it till Saturday or Sunday.
Mhm.
And today's the meeting. So, I mean, we follow the leather law, but it's insufficient, I think, for our people. So,
I'll reach out later this week to our attorney and just see if we can get some guidance on if we have the authority to change that and what that looks like, if it's
I would
you
think
all
we'd
or
be
if
more
it,
lenient. I mean, but yeah.
I would think so
Margaret can
too.
tell us.
But then I'll also ask if it's an ordinance that council needs to consider, or if it's something that the plan commission can just do.
People get it. I don't know.
It,
I mean, if nothing else, like adopt it as our policy,
Official, but
yeah,
make it a policy. maybe.
well, I make it a policy, right? And the other thing is that there are some parts of the law that require that the notice be received so many days. Now, I'm not sure that it does that in the plan commission part of the law, but in other parts of the law where due process is paramount, which I think for these people's sensibility and so forth, that's probably what they're thinking, to
Yeah.
Gary's point. So,
Yeah, but then you have to do it by certified and,
well, we don't have to.
I mean, the only way you could
Right.
know if it got there
No,
on time, but yeah. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever we can do to make it better for everybody, that's what we're all, and I know we've talked about it too, but like on this poet, I don't know how far we went out on our mailing. I know that was addressed when it came up years ago that the letter of law says 650 feet, which doesn't make sense in the country. So
we,
are we doing a mile? What are we doing now on that?
so we've changed, depending on the scale of the project, that number changes and it goes for, more parcels out and, on residential stuff, it's entire neighborhoods and it got more complicated. But, it notifies more people. It also gave us some liberty to kind of identify some other areas.
Okay.
So for example, the rezone tonight, Mr. Callis, letter of the law says 600 feet or whatever. Because we had that liberty, we went 1,200 feet and then there were 3 or 4 property owners that just fell outside of it. We can just manually grab those well, Poet was the same way. There were a cluster of homes that was just outside of the range and we grabbed it. And we do that when it's obvious that there's a
Right.
neighborhood that probably has some interest.
Good.
It's a handful more letters, but
I thought that's what we're doing. I also just want to make sure public is aware of that
Yep.
too. So go ahead with the discussion item.
yes. Just for the record, since January, when things got very busy for us, I have been saying that we're just going to delay the annual meeting 1 month and 1 month more. We're going to delay it to the middle of the year. We have not had even a second to stop and breathe and start working on a lot of that stuff. And I just want to be honest with all of you that it won't be done until council takes their vote on the 6th, and then we can start focusing on some other things, I think, and start to get caught up. So we have not had the time to work on it, and
Under promise and over deliver. That's what we want.
yes, and I kept saying, oh, we'll just kick it a month, and we're gonna just
Good with that.
kick it 6 or 7 months. So, but
Maybe
we
put off
will.
long enough, we'll have the 26 and 27 annual meeting.
It'll be a mid-year review. It'll
Supposed to happen.
Yeah. I don't know.
But and we'll let you all know when that happens and try to avoid vacations and all of that. But yeah, that'll be a mid-year meeting instead of us continuing to say we'll have it next month.
Anything else for discussion? Anybody? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.